president already. So the federal government has approved, the vice president has stated and approved 90-day special window to register businesses at a reduced rate of 5,000 naira. What is your take on this? Let's just start from there.
I think if you ask me, my question would then be, at what point did we conduct a research or a study that then gave us the answer that the problem MSMEs face is cost of registering at CAC? I'm not sure we did that. So if we did not conduct any research, any study that said MSMEs are not able to go formal because of the cost of incorporation, then the response would then be reduce the cost.
Okay.
So for me, it's like a knee-jerk reaction.
But the ease of doing business and enabling the ease of doing business, on that ranking also, Nigeria is ranked 130 over 190 on starting a business based on fund. Starting a business is not the same thing as going formal. I can be in business for 20 years without going formal. Okay. The bulk of traders you find in your Wuse market, your Alaba International, a good number of them took like 10, 15 years before they went formal. So it's not, starting a business is not the same thing as incorporating at CAC. Okay. But what I think we do is we'll find what is a bit convenient and we'll delve into it. To the best of my knowledge, registering cost at CAC is not a problem for MSMEs.
So are you saying, would you tag this move as political?
To some extent it is. But for me, in a broader view, government often, not just this administration, the past ones, are hoping going forward it won't be the same thing. We found out doing what is convenient. What do we find convenient to do, we quickly do it, and maybe 1 year down the line, it's not working, we'll do something else. MSMEs are facing diverse challenges. Access to finance is not even in the top 5.
Registering not in the top 5?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Can we ask how you came to this?
How you came about your own?
It's not in the top 5. So for instance now, we did a training in July in Borno State for some small businesses that were supported by a donor agency. And we asked them, what's your problem? Oh, we need funding, we need money, we need money, we need funding, we need money, we need funding. But these same guys had been given grants to start businesses. So at this the training is just to support them with market structures. Yes. And at the end of the 5-day training, they were given DTA for coming from different places for the training. And 4 days after, we called them back, just a sample survey. What did you do with your money? My phone has been bad for a while. I had to change it, consumption financing. Yes. So the big problem for us is that most of the people who go into business at that level are people who are into Me Too. Me Too simply means Abiodun is doing well, let me try. Okay. Or as a means of survival, nothing else to do, let me start a small business. So the biggest challenge you have is to deepen the culture of entrepreneurship. It's not deepened. A good number of the guys who are doing business are people who have tried several other things, it's not working. Or they saw a friend excelling in one business or the other and they jump into it. So access to finance is not the bigger problem. It's not even in the top 5.
So how would you say we can deepen the entrepreneurship knowledge like you have stated?
So we need to go back to the foundation. Say in the universities and the polytechnics, what's the content taught on entrepreneurship? What content? The National Board for Technology Education that manages the polytechnics developed a curriculum in 2007 for entrepreneurship education in polytechnics. It has not been revised till date. NUC has no standard curriculum for teaching entrepreneurship across all universities in Nigeria. So what you have is different universities doing what they find convenient. So we need to get to the point where we take a conscious step to teach people that, look, entrepreneurship is not entirely about buying and selling. But the bigger mindset we have in Nigeria is buying and selling, buying and selling. Services is next to nothing, buying and selling. What do you want to do? If I go buy phone, I can
sell it.
That's all. Even at that, before you start a business, how many guys have written business plan not because they want loan from a finance institution, but because they need something to guide them in the business? We did a survey, 7 out of 10 don't have a business plan. So the question is, when do you intend writing when I want to take a loan? So what's guiding you in your business today? Next to nothing.
Next to nothing.
So what determines your opening and closing hours? Normal opening hours is 8. Closing, once it's getting dark, I'm tired. But what time do your customers really want to get services? You have no idea. So those are the issues why I said access to finance is no. Because if you give me, under the UWIN program, I was a mentor on that program back then. You saw guys who got 10 million. And less than 12 months after, they can't account for 2 million. consumption financing, you change your telly to a better one, you change your phone to a newer one, you change your clothing, you change your, maybe move from a one room to a two bedroom. By the time you finish doing all of that, the fund left with you can no longer finance the business. But these are guys who got 10 million, a good number of them.
A good number of them got so much amount of money. You've made a very important point. That is the fact that the problem is not just because when people watching it will always believe access to finance is the most important thing, is the problem and all. But let's still delve into the enabling business environment. It has been over, say the last act of Companies Allied Matters Act was 1996. 1996, and it's over 20 years. There's the current one that is still before the president, which he should have attended to. He said that will make business environment in Nigeria perfect. But what is your take on why it has not been? Why the president has not?
So when I saw the intervention from the VP saying, Vice President saying we can do for 5,000 for a 90-day period,
yes.
What came to my mind first is where is that bill?
Exactly.
Awaiting accent at the presidency. Why not sign off that bill? Let's see the bigger picture of what you want to do to ease doing business in Nigeria. We don't have that. So the 5,000 for registration. So the question now for me, if I'm a small business owner, is so what? I register my business enterprise, so what? What happens next?
Exactly. Because in that bill, there's the segment, there is a portion of the bill that says small businesses are not going to have any need for auditing for over a period of 5 years, no auditing, then the tax will be waived for them for a period of 5 years until they make actual sales. Okay.
But you see something, if you look at the microfinance banks that deal with the bulk of the MSMEs in Nigeria, your LAPO, sorry I'm calling names, they really don't care whether you have incorporation, business name, and the rest. So long as you have a business place they can always track you to, or you belong to a cooperative they can always reach out to, they give you the loan. And they give as much as 300,000-400,000. Since either you have a business place they can track you to, or you come out from a cooperative they can easily reach out to. So it then tells you that incorporation is not a big headache for MSMEs. It's not. Incorporation just, maybe you need to do a contract, they won't give you payment in your name, or just for some other reason. A small business person really rarely has time to want to go formal. So if you also look at the fact that our approach to driving financial inclusion in Nigeria is similar to what we are doing with this ease of doing business. Financial inclusion is a campaign. Several countries in Africa are doing it. But the question I once asked someone is, my first bank account, nobody preached before I opened it. Nobody preached to me. Nobody campaigned to me. What happened? I began to have extra cash I couldn't keep at home. And I saw a need to go to a bank and open an account. So why is financial inclusion not a campaign in the US, in the UK, in Canada, in South Africa? Why? People are living way below, not everybody, a good number are living way below the poverty line. So they have to they do transactions. But there's a system where even for civil servants, if you give them the option of not to bank in this present time to collect their money in cash, they will take it.
They will take it.
So if we want to address financial inclusion, we need to look at why are people excluded from the financial sector. If we want to address ease of doing business, we need to sit down and do a survey that will tell us what are the real challenges MSMEs face.
Now you have mentioned one of the banes as not getting the fundamentals right, such as a business plan. But in my interaction with some business owners, they will tell you, I might not have the knowledge of putting down a good business plan, but meeting people, outsourcing to people, okay, can you help me do a business plan? But the costs, consultants, like talking to consultants like you, they'll say the cost is very exorbitant, and thereby they just delve into the business.
Now let me clear that to some extent. I'm not sure if I'll clear it completely. We have this mindset of what a business plan should be. A 15-page, a 20-page, or a 30-page document. That's not true. A business plan simply states that you sit down, you tell yourself what your business is, what your business isn't, what are your priorities in business, who are your target market. You can, somebody who didn't go past primary education can do that. But what it simply says is, you cannot think of a business plan if you didn't think before starting your business. What happens most times, somebody runs into 100, 200, 300, 400,000, and the next thing he wants to do is to start a business. What's the what did you do between the time you got that money to when you started the business? Were there a process of thinking or a time you went to undertake or undergo internship with an established business to say, look, I want to start, can you guide me? So that idea business plan is expensive, consultants charge so high. It's most time when you go to financial institution, you want to take loan, they say, okay, you must use XYZ consultant. But if you talk to guys in your community, talk to established businesses, they'll give you a guide. You take notes. I talked about opening and closing time. Traditionally for us, it's 8 to 4, 8 to 5, 8 to 6, but it should be dependent on your business. If the bulk of your customers come out between 7 to 10 and nothing happens from 11 to 4, why stay from 7 to 4 and you're tired? You want to go home. These are part of what you should put in a business plan. It can be a 2-page document. It's simply telling you, how do I want to run my business? What do I want to do in this business? How do I even know the cost? Do I have where I put my cost down so I can tell my profit after a while? So I don't buy that idea. It has to be a 20, 30, 15. No. It can be a 2, so long as it's a guide for you. It works as a business plan.
You have been able to mention just one key challenge that the MSMEs are facing, which is the fundamentals, knowing your business and knowing before you go into your business. But I don't think that's the only challenge that they are facing. There's some people that already have a business plan, that know how their business should go, but they are not yet where they ought to be. Yes, you can still say it's part of the business plan, but no, they've gone through the business plan stage. How about the agencies, the federal government, their own side of it?
No, so I'm working on a research comparing MSMEs in Nigeria and South Africa. And one thing that struck me is when I googled small businesses in South Africa, before I could finish googling, typing the entire text, it had displayed 7 government agencies working for MSMEs in South Africa. But come back to Nigeria, Google small business support in Nigeria, it will list like 10 private organizations who are offering services at a fee. So it then tells you that there is a huge gap that organizations like SEEDi have to play. They need to be at the forefront so that if anybody searches to say, how do I write a business plan? SEEDi come forth and tell you, this is a template. You can edit this template to suit your business. But because these agencies have in the long in some time past, I've focused so much on doing, like I said, the convenient thing, capacity building training. Most times you can't, if you see the module, the training module they use for this training, you just feel like, why are we wasting this money? So in Nigeria, government agencies need to step up and fill that gap. If they fill the gap, I tell you, non-financial services are more important than financial services. How to start a business, how to manage a business, how to sustain and scale a business. Persons who are grounded in this. That's why some people look at the Igbo system where they do this internship. You go learn under 4 or 5 years. Some of these guys start business with less than 100,000. Give them 1 year down the line, they're having above 100,000 because they've learned the basics. But somebody who just finished school and no job, after a while, the uncle in US sends him $1,000, 300 and something thousand. What's the business happening now? He just sees something that looks as if, oh, shawarma is the top. He invests in shawarma. 3 months down the line, he's closing shop. So these are the things government agencies need to begin to look at. Starting, sustaining, and scaling an enterprise. They are key fundamentals. Before you start, you need to, like in the program in Borno State, we're looking at how do you manage your startup capital. Yes. So if you have 100,000, you want to run a business with 100,000. The common rule says you don't invest over 30% of that 100,000. So if anything goes bad, you still have 70,000 somewhere. Back up, yes. If you invest 30,000 and you make your mistakes, you learn from your mistakes, you put another 30,000. Once you stabilize, you can then bring your last tranche, which should be the 40,000. But most time, what happens? People, you have 100,000 and you're already looking for another 100,000 loan for a business you've not tested the waters. So which is why places in South Africa and Ghana, they keep telling you think small. So think big, start small. So those are the fundamentals that we don't have, the bulk of entrepreneurs Nigerians don't have, and they make the very fatal mistake of investing everything they have in a business they've not tested. They don't know the ins and outs of that business.
Talking about agencies now, we know development financing is a key thing in Nigeria. We have the BOI, we have the DBN, we have agencies responsible for giving, although you have said access to finance is not where we are getting it wrong. We need to go back to the basics to get it right. But how would you rate the work of this institution so far?
Sorry. Before he does the rating on how the financial institutions have been playing so far, we'll go for a short break now. And when we come back, the conversation is still on, and MSMEs are encouraged to be part of this discussion to learn more, because he has been giving out facts that I think we are all interested in and we should all be participating in. After this time out, he will be answering the question on financial institutions and their role. Do stay with us. Back just before the break, we have Celestine Okeke, who is the lead partner in SEEDi, and he was about answering. Chris was about asking him a question on financial institution.
Yes, I actually asked him the question on an appraisal of the work of financial institutions.
Okay, so we ran a small survey. We're still working on it. From 2011 to 2018 June, none of the access to finance instruments issued by CBN, BOI, DBN, NAFund, none of them has gotten above 20% disbursement rate. None. So if you think access to finance is a challenge, why are people not getting this financing? So, like I said, the bulk of what they do is financial services, but if you compare Nigeria MSME space and South Africa MSME space, they have 3 agencies in South Africa that does not financial services. They don't give finance, they give you non-financial, they train you. If you want to start a business in fact, the grading says there are potential and intentional entrepreneurs. Intentional are those who are already like, I want to start a business in the next 3 months. So they take them in and begin to work with them. What do you want to do? How much do you have? What business works best for you? But we don't have that grading here. All you know is once the money comes into your hand, you're already thinking of what I want to invest in. You are not taking a 1 to 3 month period to work on that business itself. So the DFIs we have in Nigeria have focused so much on access to finance. But the question is, the people who are offering this access to finance, are they prepared to take it? A good number or not? Which is why you hear I went to Bank of Industry, they turned me around. So I asked someone, before you went to BOI, did you take time to visit their website and look at their risk assessment criteria, look at he said, hey, it's Bank of Industry, they're meant to give small businesses loan. So nobody is intervening between the time the guy wants to run a business to when he eventually needs to go to a DFI. Nobody is doing that. So even if the DFI is launched another 500 billion MSME fund, I tell you, it won't get more than 5% disbursement rate, which most times even goes to state governments, not to the people who need it. But I will also let us bear in mind that the world over, even in your USA, your Canada and the rest, startups are not largely funded by government.
Yes.
In the US, they have what they call revolving credit associations, RCAs. Your church, your community, your neighborhood, your workplace, you have 10 guys come together and they're pulling $100 every week, $200 every week. Or the church has a fund for people who want to go into business. They have some $10, $15 million in it. Or they vet you, they know you very well, they advance you some part of it. So it's not as if the world over government intervenes for startups completely, but what we always try to do here is we leave the fundamentals and we want to do the big ones. We launch a 220 billion MSME fund. Question now is for who? Are they prepared enough to manage that fund? How many of these business owners even know how to calculate their profit? And to shock you to know that in a training where we had graduates, not people from the street, so you say if you bought this glass of water for 100 naira in the market and you sold for 200, how much is your profit? Guess what? You were crossing 100 naira. But that's not your profit. Some means of transport took you to that place.
Yes.
Even if you were supplied, you still incur some other cost in the rent for the place you are trading from, the electricity bill you pay, the electricity bill you pay in that place. Exactly. There are several cost items you need to put into place to then arrive at 100 naira cost price, another 20 naira, then okay, so my profit is 80. Most of them don't know that mathematics. So if you now ask a young man who is into business, what determines how much you spend on a weekend to make meal for the weekend, your pot of soup, your fried rice and the rest? Well, it depends on my mood or if I have friends coming over. It's not a function of how much he or she has made in profit from Monday to Saturday.
True.
So that same guy wants to go take loan from a bank. The banker who may have gotten 1,000 business plan in that same line sees yours and knows this is rubbish.
This is exactly.
So that's why I say we need to go back to the fundamentals such that these guys are well prepared. They get from when they are in the university, they should be taught what entrepreneurship is.
I think we
not
already
this
have that
module.
in the curriculum.
No, that's why I when we started, I referred us back to what MBT developed in 2007. It has not been revised.
So we need
For
a
NUC,
revision.
NUC has no curriculum. What universities do is develop what works for them. So we can't even attest to what those guys are learning while they are in school. Which is why when they come out, they still don't think entrepreneurship works. Because it's the mindset of buying and selling.
That's quite true. Let us quickly at this point take our social media comments. Keep them coming in. The handle to still tweet at us is Moneyline AIT. The first one is coming from Ibrahim Shelling. He said, financial literacy is vital. Also having a well-defined target market and focusing on producing quality products and services. All these come about from having proper business structures. That is, he would react to that. And also there's one coming in, said, how have you, among the leading MSMEs partners, been able to fight for the act, he's talking about the bill that the president is here to approve. So keep your comments coming in, but let him attend to this too first, so then we'll continue.
Okay, starting from the last one, the input we made into that bill is to say, look, there should be classification at CAC. If I come to incorporate, I should be known as either a micro, small, or medium enterprise. It shouldn't be 5,000 flat for MSMEs. A micro person is not fitting in well. And the same challenge is at NAFDAC, SON. They have one flat rail. They don't know, they don't care with who's a micro, who's a small, who's a medium enterprise. We do a whole lot of things. For instance, on the 16th, we'll be having an interface between small business representatives and FCT IRS. Internal Revenue Service. They are about rolling out some regulation to guide tax regime for MSMEs. And people are not engaged. So okay, let's even begin to engage them before they roll out such things. Because these are the things that constitute ease of doing business. If there are persons who don't bother coming out to the city center daytime to do business again, they tell you, if APB is not chasing me, some revenue guys are chasing me. So imagine if the guy goes and registers as CAC with 5,000, but he still has these challenges to face. And maybe the VIO, the DRTX said from October 1st, a certain category of commercial cab taxis will be banned in the FCT. Those that don't have air conditioners, those that are not painted commercial colors, those that are not carrying commercial plates, several, like 10, 11 regulations. Imagine if it comes into play and it phases out these commercial cabs that make transport a lot easier for small business owners. That's an added cost because the alternative will be more expensive than this one. So these are the fundamental challenges that MSMEs are faced with that we are interested in addressing. The access to finance, we've stepped down much talk on it because I keep telling people, look, if you get your business right, a banker will lend to you. If you get your business right, when you approach a bank staff, imagine that you are talking to your doctor. So if you hide some things from him, he knows. So we did a review of business plans some guys wrote, and what we found interesting was that most of them, not most, almost 8 of 10 of them downplayed their risk. So if you approach me, a credit officer in a bank, and you give me a business plan, and it's either you are downplaying your risk or you don't know the risk in that business, I won't want to lend to you.
Okay, now one of the tweets also mentioned the issue of target market and quality control. So many people have said that our business owners are more concerned with sending in quantity into the market, and they leave that important part of quality. How would you react to that?
So the first place is to target your market, and I'll be very real with you. If you target the market segment you want to serve, there are market segments that are interested in quality, some are interested in quantity. So somebody wanted to start some business in Dutse, Jigawa State some years back, and he wanted to produce more yogurt and ice cream, and he was looking at the big 200, 250, 300 packs. And we did a market survey in Dutse, the state capital. I said, please, if you want to really survive in this business, don't go above the 20, the 50 naira kind of ice cream. That's what sells in that market. So in that case, it's not entirely about quality. What that market wants. You need to first target your market and then know what they want. So if you look, for instance, from Banex Plaza to Omega Center, where you used to have the GTB on Wuse 2, at Banex you can get a space for $1 million for your store. But at Omega Center, you can't get a space for less than 3 million. Why? A different set of persons go to Banex to buy items. A different set of persons go to Omega Center to buy. So you have to target your market and then know what service you are offering to them.
All right. Before we go, I think we are short on time now. Time is against us. But I want to, in 10 seconds, just yesterday, the Vice President launched the MSME clinic in Kaduna. How would you rate the MSME clinic initiative?
That's the 20th,
yes, 20th
edition of it. It started sometimes in February 2017 in Abia State. I honestly think what MSME clinic is doing is what Smedan should be doing. So I find it frustrating that Smedan tags along the VP's team to take complaints from small business owners. It should be a Smedan-led initiative, and it shouldn't be done via clinics where 104 million is the budget. No, it shouldn't. Yeah. You can get these inputs online. It shouldn't cost that much.
All right.